Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm excited because I finished the show last night.
Oh my gosh, great.
For me, it's really interesting how you humanize politics. How the show humanize politics, because there's a borderline between being funny but being serious.
Yeah.
This is something, and your chemistry is great because it's, I've been married, so I know how that thing works. So it's also politics.
Yeah.
So how do you create this chemistry that works in terms of professional politics and personal politics?
I think they are mirrors to each other. I think that's what Deborah's doing, is showing like you're saying, the politics of a long-term marriage and the parallels of being in these long-term partnerships with countries and diplomacy, the United States and the UK, and then the outside world, and how there are just natural chemistries that occur and are built in. Like there are some countries you just naturally have friction with and continue to have friction with no matter the leader, and because of the different cultures or what happens. And I just think in long-term relationships, more so, it's rocky road. Like, sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. And I think that's kind of what she's trying to show, the parallel of the two.
Yeah, and I'd say, we keep on returning to this. So much of it is just in the writing that it has. And I think we were both drawn to it for the same reason as the first couple of scripts that I read. The story, was very interesting and intriguing, and very originally written, but, I could recognize the format. What made it really jump out to me was a relationship in the middle of it that felt disarmingly real and familiar in all of its mucky detail, and the silliness and the humor and the old jokes that people didn't even bother to acknowledge. It was just the way they are. It didn't seem, in one way it was like a high style, like a kind of screwball style, the way they spoke, but it felt very organic. It felt like the kind of reality that Screwball was based on, rather than a copy of a style. And I think because that writing is so in the pocket, we instinctively gravitated towards it. As soon as we did the scenes together, or as soon as we met, we kind of had the same idea about it. So there was an immediate trust. We could forget worrying, and the rest takes care of itself.
But also you have experiences because you work in the Manila High Castle and you were in the Americans. So it's spy, it's politics. But what makes this show different? Because for me, I felt that I empathize with politics now.
Good.
Because we just look at them on TV and we think, okay, they're so serious.
Yeah.
But behind everything, there's a life.
Of course.
So how do you create that life behind it?
Well, I think everyone has a life behind their job. And we just don't get to see politicians' life because they have to put on this, like, the surface. But I think that's what Deborah does so well, and this show does well, is that's what you're most concerned about, the little embarrassments and insecurities of these people in these relationships. You're just seeing them. Their job is a position of power, but they're just people.
And in fact, this whole idea of making Kate camera ready is the process of training the life out of her.
Right.
Which is what they do. It's like, oh no, hair's out of place. They look like they've just come from somewhere. You don't want to look like you've just come from the kitchen. You don't want to, and we want to look like we've just come from the kitchen. It's the opposite process. So we're trying to get as uncamera ready for our scenes as possible. So to remind people that you're dealing with just normal, lovely, crappy humans.
Yeah. I will never tackle my partner like in season 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.